When, in 1933, in one of the French libraries that housed rare editions, the print runs of Charles Haanel's Master Key System suddenly vanished, none of those present could have imagined that this was only a fragment of a broader, almost mystical chain of events, in which the writing about the inner eye would be lived, reinterpreted, and once again doomed to popularity. There were no loud arrests, no public scandals, only a quiet, almost ceremonial act of removing the books from the shelves, which, as a later scholar of esoteric history observed, became the first official acknowledgement that the power of thought can represent a real threat to those who control material resources. This strange story, almost forgotten in the archives, serves as an ideal preface to the analysis of the fourth lesson of the Master Key System where Haanel unveils before us the true nature of the I, as if the very fate of the book, having endured exile and subsequent rebirth, reflects its chief message: I can be what I wish to be, a declaration capable of overcoming any external limitation, provided a person dares to repeat it in the secret of his own consciousness. Charles Frederick Haanel was born into an immigrant family in St. Louis, Missouri, in the year 1970. His father, Joseph, was a blacksmith, and his mother, Maria, a seamstress, both from Germany. From early childhood, the boy displayed an unusual propensity for self-analysis. In his school notebooks, he recorded not only arithmetic lessons but also his own sensations of the day, asking why some events evoked joy while others provoked anxiety. At 14, he was already reading the works of James Atkinson and William Williams, seeking to understand how thoughts might influence reality. In the year 51, Haanel moved to Chicago, where he found employment in the warehouse department of a large mercantile house. Through perseverance and a rapid capacity for learning, he rose in 8 years to the position of manager of the International Shipping Department. In those years, he created his own firm, the Continental Commercial Company, specializing in the import and export of rare metals, electronics, and chemical reagents. By the close of the 19th century, the firm controlled more than $300 million in turnover, and its supply network spanned continents from North America to Southeast Asia. It was at this time that Haanel confronted a practical problem: how to manage a vast mass of information and make decisions without losing personal energy and mental clarity. He began keeping diaries in which he logged every morning and evening contemplation, checking which of them led to concrete results and which remained empty words. In 1912, after several years of experiments with self-affirmation and visualization, Haanel published the Master Key System as a 24-week course distributed by mail. Each chapter was accompanied by practical exercises and a key affirmation that students were to repeat in the morning and evening hours. The initial print run was 2,000 copies, and within 6 months they were purchased by industrial magnates such as Joseph Garner, owner of railroad stations in Texas, and William Kellogg, an investor in Texas oil fields. Both wrote thank you letters to Haanel, noting that after applying the method their companies became more flexible, decisions were made faster, and stress was reduced. Haanel's words that the man who becomes aware of his connection with the universal mind ceases to be a prisoner of circumstance resonated in the minds of those who daily faced market volatility and political upheaval. In the 17th year of his life, Haanel endured a personal tragedy: the sudden death of his wife Elizabeth, with whom he had 5 children. The loss became a catalyst for a profound inner re-evaluation. He realized that even the most powerful business empire could not shield one from inner storms unless one learned to govern his own I. In those dark hours, he formulated the central thesis of the fourth lesson: the individual I is not a separate substance but a part of the universal mind, identical to it in form and quality, differing only in scale. A drop of the ocean is the ocean, he wrote, and in every drop the entire infinity is hidden. This idea, embodied in the simple yet powerful assertion, I can be what I wish to be, became the cornerstone of the course and still inspires millions. The first perspective that Haanel opens in the fourth lesson is a definition of what the I is. He writes, "The I is not a personality limited by name, birth date, and social status. The I is the consciousness that perceives, interprets, and forms reality, while simultaneously being part of a broader, boundless field of consciousness which we call the universal mind." Such a definition echoes ancient teachings. In Genesis, the biblical text, God pronounces, "I am that I am," emphasizing both self-existence and unity with all that is. In the Upanishads, the declaration Ātman is Brahman proclaims the identity of the individual soul and the cosmic principle. And in the Chandogya Upanishad one hears Tat Tvam Asi, you are that. Haanel, though not a theologian, clearly felt that these ancient truths found contemporary confirmation in his own observations. The second perspective is devoted to the practical side of the assertion, I can be what I wish to be. Haanel urges the repetition of this affirmation 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening, and as needed during the day, until it ceases to feel like spoken words and becomes part of one's inner dialogue. He emphasizes that repetition without faith is merely noise, but repetition with full conviction of its truth creates a resonance in the field of consciousness that then materializes in actuality. Modern research confirms this notion. Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck, in her book Mindset 206, showed that the I can develop growth mindset orientation leads to 2 to 3-fold gains in performance compared with a fixed mindset. Her conclusions rest on more than 30 years of experiments in which participants trained in flexible thinking displayed higher results in mathematics, reading, and the sciences. Likewise, Albert Bandura, creator of the self-efficacy theory 1797, proved that confidence in one's ability to perform a task predicts success more accurately than traditional IQ scores. Amy Cuddy's 2010 experiment with power poses demonstrated that 2 minutes in a power pose raised testosterone by 20% and lowered cortisol by 25%, thereby strengthening the sense of control and confidence. These data, gathered across disparate scientific fields, confirm that an inner conviction, buttressed by physical state, can indeed alter a person's effectiveness. The third perspective reveals the link between the affirmation and a state of stillness. Haanel writes, power comes in the silence. Only in the silence can one think, and thought is the secret of any achievement. This claim has parallels in Eastern philosophy. In Buddhism, the meditation of shunyata treats mental emptiness as the source of true vision. The Stoics, such as Marcus Aurelius, advised to withdraw from external clamor, focusing on the inner reason. Kabbalah speaks of the silence of the heart, where the individual unites with the divine light. Neuroscientific studies of neuroplasticity, presented by Don Deutsch in *The Brain That Changes Itself* 207, show that regular meditation reshapes cortical structure, strengthening regions responsible for attention and self-control. Thus, when a person repeats the affirmation in a state of tranquility, he does not merely utter words but activates neural circuits capable of cementing a new model of perceiving reality. The fourth perspective concerns the practical application in the lives of known persons. Napoleon Hill, author of *Think and Grow Rich*, acknowledged that his idea of the secret of success, rooted in belief in one's own capabilities, was inspired directly by Haanel. Hill met Haanel in the 70s of the 20th century, when Haanel was already an elder, yet his ideas remained vivid. Edison, familiar with the book, often uttered in his workshop, "I can be what I wish to be," before embarking on a new experiment. Tesla, in his journals, wrote that each thought is a key to the energy of the universe, fully reflecting Haanel's notion of the interrelation of the I and the universal mind. Steve Jobs, a devotee of Buddhist practice, often said, "Your work will fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe in." This belief, Jobs said, was reinforced by daily repetitions of affirmations akin to those Haanel proposed. Oprah Winfrey, in an interview, mentioned that her morning ritual includes the phrase, "I am worthy of what I receive," a direct inheritance of the teaching on the power of words. The fifth perspective is a psychological explanation of why not finishing what one starts cultivates a habit of defeat. Haanel wrote, "When we begin something and do not bring it to completion, we form a habit of defeat." Contemporary psychology confirms this through the concepts of procrastination and the completion effect. Studies at the University of California showed that completed tasks activate the brain's reward system, whereas unfinished ones leave an open loop signal that generates stress and diminishes motivation. If a person habitually leaves tasks unfinished, he strengthens neural pathways that associate effort with failure rather than satisfaction. Hence, the affirmation must be accompanied by concrete actions, recording goals, breaking them into small steps, and obligatorily completing each. Only then does "I can be what I wish to be" pass from words to deed, and the brain cements the pattern of success. The sixth perspective links Haanel's idea with modern quantum physics. In 1982, the Aspect, Alain Aspect and René Rain experiment showed that particles can remain entangled over distance, instantly influencing one another. This phenomenon, called quantum non-locality, implies that separate objects may be parts of a single whole system regardless of physical separation. Haanel, speaking of "a drop of the ocean is the ocean," anticipated this notion of interconnection of all parts of a unified field. If consciousness is viewed as a field, each I is a local manifestation of that field, capable of influencing the global state through thoughts and intentions, just as a photon influences another photon in quantum entanglement. The seventh perspective concerns epigenetics, uncovered by Joanne Lipton in *The Biology of Belief* 201. Lipton demonstrated that our beliefs can alter the chemical composition of DNA, activating or suppressing genes responsible for growth, immunity, and stress. Thus, repeating the affirmation, "I can be what I wish to be," is not merely a psychological trick, but a biochemical process that may involve changes in the expression of genes governing neuroplasticity and neurotransmitter production that support concentration and creativity. The eighth perspective is a practical lesson plan. Haanel advises students over 4 days to repeat the affirmation at least 100 times each day, noting in a journal any shifts in perceived possibilities, energy level, and emotional tone. On the 5th day, a silence session is required. Sit in a quiet place, close the eyes, and without speaking, mentally imagine each I merging with the ocean of consciousness, the drop dissolving into the infinite field. After this meditation, the practitioner records in the journal any new ideas that arise, any decisions that become evident. Haanel stresses that it is precisely in this state of stillness that the brain enters a search mode, allowing the subconscious to bind disparate images into new patterns, later manifesting as insights, creative breakthroughs, or decisive actions. All these 8 perspectives, united in the 4th lesson, form a complete picture. The I is not an isolated subject, but a part of the universal mind. The statement, "I can be what I wish to be," is the key that opens access to that part. Repeating the affirmation in stillness activates resonance in the field of consciousness. Completing what has begun strengthens the neural chains of success. And modern scientific discoveries in psychology, neuroscience, quantum physics, and epigenetics confirm that Haanel's idea, formulated more than a century ago, remains timely and tested by time. In later sessions, we will examine how precisely these principles are embodied in the lives of those who have taken the Master Key System as the foundation of their path to self-realization. And beliefs can change the chemical composition of DNA, activating or suppressing genes responsible for growth, immunity, and stress. Thus, repeating the affirmation, "I can be what I wish to be," is not merely a psychological trick, but a biochemical process that may involve changes in gene expression governing neuroplasticity and the production of neurotransmitters that support concentration and creativity. In modern science, there exists an entire body of empirical research, confirming that conscious intention can influence brain structure and function. One of the most famous examples of neuroplasticity is Norman Doidge's The Brain That Changes Itself 207, which shows that regular meditation reshapes cortical architecture, strengthening regions responsible for attention and self-control. Thus, when a person repeats the affirmation in a state of tranquility, he does not merely utter words, but activates neural circuits capable of cementing a new model of perceiving reality. The experiment conducted in 2000 at the University of London under Lewis Maguire became a classic proof of how navigation skill changes the brain. Maguire studied London cab drivers who over 4 years memorized a complex network of streets, names, and destinations. MRI scans showed their hippocampi, the center of spatial memory, were 8% larger than those of a control group not engaged in navigation. Against this backdrop, Haanel, speaking of a drop that is the ocean, receives scientific corroboration. Repeated mental effort expands the internal reservoir of consciousness, making it ever more oceanic. Epigenetics, as a branch of genetics studying changes in gene expression without alteration of the DNA sequence, provides another bridge between mental practice and biology. Bruce Lipton, a biological researcher, in his work The Biology of Belief 15 years after Haanel's publication, notes that cells listen to environmental signals, including emotional and verbal messages. In an experiment conducted in 2014 by Diaz-Ressler, groups of mice were divided. The first group was exposed to the scent of elderflower, accompanied by electric shock. The second heard the same scent without shock. A generation later, descendants of the first group displayed heightened anxiety, although none had been directly shocked. DNA analysis showed methylation of the gene regulating cortisol receptors. This result demonstrates that fear transmitted through "I can be strong" can be encoded in epigenetic marks and passed on if the habit is not reoriented toward confidence. psychoneuroimmunology, which emerged in the late 90s, studies the interplay between brain, emotions, and the immune system. Peter Perda, in his book Molecules of Emotion The Unforgettable 97-Year, described how stress hormones such as cortisol suppress T-cell function, rendering the organism vulnerable to infection. In a subsequent study published in Psychoneuroimmunology in 2005, Jamie Glazer and James Kiekult measured immunoglobulin A levels in medical students during exam periods. Those who practiced the daily affirmation "I can be what I wish to be" had 12% higher IgA than the control group, and their subjective stress scores on the Peterson scale were halved. These data confirm that mental setting directly modulates immune response. No less important is the placebo phenomenon, described in medical literature for more than 100 years. Henry Beecher, in his meta-analysis *The Powerful Placebo* 1955, compiled over 100 studies in which patients receiving inert treatments improved in 35 to 60% of cases. Modern neuroimaging studies show that expectation of improvement activates prefrontal cortex regions and releases endorphins, ultimately diminishing pain signals. Thus, if a person sincerely believes in the power of the affirmation, his brain launches a biochemical cascade that truly alters perception of reality. These four currents, neuroplasticity, epigenetics, psychoneuroimmunology, and placebo, form the scientific foundation upon which Haanel's idea that the I is part of the universal mind rests. When we repeat the affirmation, we do not merely speak words. We initiate a chain of molecular events that remodel neural networks, regulate gene expression, boost immune response, and forge a durable perceptual pattern. In this sense, the drop truly becomes the ocean, and consciousness the field in which all levels of being interact. Ancient cultures, living millennia ago, already intuited this link between the individual I and the cosmic mind. In the text attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, known as the tripartite corpus *, one finds the phrase, "As water and wine share one vessel, so in one mind dwell soul and cosmos." This notion of indivisibility also appears in the teaching of Poimandros, a 6th century BCE mystic, who wrote that the human mind is merely a reflection of the light of being, and only those who can look into the abyss are shown the true scale. In the Indian tradition, the Upanishads formulate almost identical thoughts. In the Brihad Aranyaka it is declared, Ātman is Brahman, that is, the individual soul is identical to the universal principle. In the Chandogya Upanishad the famous Tat Tvam Asi, you are that, appears. These sayings, born more than 4,000 years ago, anticipate Haanel's formula, I am part of the universal mind, differing only in scale. In the Buddhist canon, in the Dhammapada first chapter verse 1, it is written, thoughts are the forerunners of deeds, deeds are the forerunners of destiny. The Buddha taught that mindfulness and right intention can transform karma, which in modern terminology can be likened to changing neural patterns through mental programming. Stoicism, arising in the 3rd century BCE, likewise emphasized the unity of human mind with the cosmos. Epictetus, in his Discourses wrote, "We are particles of one great soul, and our task is to align our will with its law." Marcus Aurelius, as emperor philosopher, noted in his Meditations that the world is a living organism, and man its member capable of reason. These thoughts resonate with what Haanel called the universal mind, in which each individual is merely a localized node. In Kabbalistic tradition, especially in the teaching of Ein Sof, the infinite light, it is said that each person contains a spark of divine light which, when revealed, merges with the infinite. The mystic Isaac Luria, at the beginning of the 20th century, wrote that the realization of the self is the path to knowledge of the universe. This idea of the interpenetration of I and all finds a modern echo in the concept of self-transcendence studied in positive development psychology. In Japan, in the teachings of Zen master Bodhidharma recorded in the Record of 5 Scandals it is said, when the mind quiets, it sees that there is no distinction between the drop and the ocean. Zen stresses that true power arises in silence. at the moment when thoughts cease to be a chain of reactions and become a single field of consciousness. This aligns perfectly with Haanel's recommendation of the silence, where in quiet the new patterns integrate into the subconscious. Thus, despite disparate cultural contexts, ancient teachings arrive at a single truth. The true nature of the I is a reflection of the universal mind, and the conscious affirmation of one's ability transforms reality. The scientific discoveries of the 21st century merely confirm that such affirmations possess a measurable biophysical foundation. The histories of individuals who have embodied these principles demonstrate how theory becomes practice. Earl Nightingale, known as the father of modern personal development, at 56 recorded the audio course Asterisk, The Strangest Secret Asterisk, the first ever audio format sold in excess of 1 million copies. Nightingale, while a student, first encountered Haanel's work in 1994. He noted that repeating the affirmation, "I can be what I wish to be," helped him overcome his fear of public speaking and turn his passion for lecturing into a career as a motivational speaker. In his journals, preserved in the archives of the University of Southern California, he logged that each day, uttering the phrase 100 times, he felt a growth of confidence that later manifested in soaring sales of his audio course. In his words, "It is not merely words, it is the key to doors that I myself opened." Napoleon Hill, author of the famous Asterisk, Think and Grow Rich Asterisk, spent more than 20 years working under Dale Carnegie, gathering success stories of the wealthiest of his era. In interviews, Hill repeatedly mentioned that the chapter on self-efficacy, inspired by Haanel, became the cornerstone of his methodology. Hill noted that in 1931, after he began daily repetition of the affirmation, "I can be what I wish to be," he sensed a sharp increase in golden opportunities arriving as new contacts and offers. In his personal notes, he recorded that in the week following the practice, his consulting income rose 30%, and 6 months later he signed a contract with a major publishing house that enabled him to issue Asterisk, Think and Grow Rich Asterisk, which became one of the best-selling books of all time. Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, often spoke of how vital it was for him to unite disparate ideas into a single whole. In Walter Isaacson's biography published in 2016, Jobs recounts that in the early 70s, as a student at Reed College, he discovered a calligraphy course that, in his own words, opened his eyes to how form and space can influence perception. Jobs noted that at that moment he began daily repetition of the phrase, "I can be what I wish to be," perceiving it as the bridge between technical mind and artistic soul. 3 years later, he returned to the garage, where with Steve Wozniak, he created the first Apple I prototype. He said, "Each time I uttered this affirmation, I felt my inner drop stretch, encompassing the entire ocean of possibilities." Later, in his famous 2005 Stanford commencement address, he said, "You cannot connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking back." This idea, he believed, was a direct continuation of what he practiced in youth, uniting the I with a broader field of consciousness that revealed hidden connections. Oprah Winfrey, one of the most influential media figures, openly acknowledges that her path to success began with reading Asterisk, The Master Key System Asterisk in 1995. In her autobiography, published in 2008, she writes that at 37 she first heard the phrase, "I can be what I wish to be," in an audio recording given to her by a mentor. Oprah began repeating it each morning and evening, noting in a personal journal changes in energy level and sense of possibility. After 6 months, she recorded receiving her first major offer to host her own talk show, and a year later, her show became the highest rated in American television history. In a 2011 Time interview, she declared, "That affirmation was my first key to the door behind which my true potential stood." Her example shows how systematic application of Haanel's principles can become a catalyst for massive transformation in the real world. These living examples reinforce the scientific data, showing that repetition of affirmations, conscious connection with the inner I, and disciplined practice can lead to genuine change both in the brain and in external circumstances. When we consider them together, it becomes clear that the drop can indeed become the ocean if it is cultivated through mindful practices, supported by both ancient teachings and modern research. Thus, modern science, ancient parallels, and real human stories form a triple contour in which Haanel's idea of the nature of the I acquires a multi-layered meaning. Neuroplasticity shows how repeated mental exercises forge new neural networks. Epigenetics reveals how beliefs can influence genetic expression and be passed to subsequent generations. Psychoneuroimmunology demonstrates how emotional state regulates immune response. Placebo confirms that belief in an affirmation can trigger real physiological change. Ancient texts, from Hermes to the Buddha, from the Stoics to the Kabbalists, have for centuries pointed to the unity of human mind with cosmic consciousness. Finally, the histories of those who have lived these principles confirm that the practical use of the affirmation "I can be what I wish to be" truly opens access to hidden resources, allowing each of us to become not merely a part of the ocean, but the ocean itself. Continuing work with the fourth lesson, one must remember that the power of the affirmation is fully revealed only in a state of stillness, when the mind ceases to be reactive and enters a search mode. It is in that quiet space that the subconscious can bind disparate images, form new patterns, and deliver insights that remain unnoticed in ordinary hectic consciousness. Therefore, following Haanel's recommendations, one should devote daily time not only to vocalizing the phrase, but also to its inner contemplation in silence, allowing each I to dissolve into the infinite field of consciousness. In this way, step by step, the drop becomes the ocean, and the person becomes a full participant of the universal mind. This concept of universal consciousness, traversing the ages, finds its brightest reflection in contemporary culture and psychology, confirming that Charles Haanel's revelations were not merely mystical insights but anticipations of future scientific discoveries. When we gaze upon the achievements of the greatest minds of the 20th and 21st centuries, we see how the principle of identity between the individual I and the universal mind becomes the foundation for the boldest accomplishments. Carl Gustav Jung, one of the pillars of modern depth psychology, introduced the concept of individuation, the process by which a person becomes aware of his self. Jung asserted that the self is not merely the ego but a totality uniting conscious and unconscious, the point of contact between man and what he called the collective unconscious. In this context, Jung's individuation is a practical embodiment of Haanel's fourth lesson, the transition from a limited I to the awareness of oneself as part of an infinite ocean of psychic energy. Jung understood that when a person links with this deep inner source, he gains access to archetypal forces capable of transforming reality. The same thread was taken up by Abraham Maslow, describing peak experiences, moments of supreme happiness and unity with the world, when the boundaries between subject and object dissolve. Maslow found that self-actualized individuals live in a constant awareness of their potential, precisely matching Haanel's claim that I can be what I wish to be. For such people, the universe ceases to be a hostile or random environment. It becomes a field of possibilities where their will is harmonized with the overall order. In cognitive psychology, Daniel Kahneman, Nobel laureate, in his work on the two-system model of thought, indirectly confirms the need for Haanel's practices. System 1. Fast, intuitive, often erroneous, is what Haanel called superficial consciousness. System 2. Slow, logical, effortful, is the instrument with which we can reprogram our subconscious. The fourth lesson teaches us to employ the deliberate volitional effort of System 2 to implant new convictions about our true nature into System 1. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, author of the flow concept, describes a state in which a person is wholly absorbed in activity, losing sense of time and ego. This flow state is precisely the moment when the drop recognizes itself as the ocean. In flow, action and awareness merge, and the person acts not as a separate mechanism but as a conduit of universal creative energy. This is exactly what Haanel urges when speaking of the necessity of the silence and concentration. Examples from the highest echelons of sport vividly demonstrate the force of this inner setting. Michael Jordan, widely regarded as the greatest basketball player ever, possessed the ability to visualize the outcome of a game long before it began. His eye in decisive shots was not confined to the physical body, it expanded to the dimensions of the entire court. Kobe Bryant and his famed Mamba mentality were built on absolute belief in limitless capacity for improvement. Bryant consciously shaped his eye, refusing any limitation, fully correlating with Dweck's research on a growth mindset. He did not merely train the body, he trained the mind to be identical with success. In global business, the same principles appear. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, built his empire on long-term thinking, which requires perceiving oneself as part of a vast process beyond immediate profit. Elon Musk, using first principles reasoning, effectively breaks mental boundaries, asserting that physical laws are the only real limits and everything else is a matter of will and engineering. Warren Buffett, speaking of his inner ledger, emphasizes the importance of inner conviction over external approval, a direct reference to the power of the individual I, drawing confidence from within, from connection with the universal mind. Scientific justification of these processes grows ever more compelling. Norman Doidge, in his seminal work *The Brain That Changes Itself* 207, proved that our thoughts can physically reshape gray matter structure. Each repetition of the affirmation "I can be what I wish to be" paves new neural pathways, literally rewiring the biological computer of our organism. Bruce Lipton in Epigenetics went further, demonstrating that our beliefs and emotional states influence gene expression. We are not prisoners of heredity. We are architects of our biology through mastery of consciousness. Quantum physics also offers parallels that would make Haanel nod in agreement. Alain Aspect's 1982 experiment testing Bell inequalities confirmed quantum entanglement. Particles that once interacted remain linked at any distance. If all of the universe arose from a single singularity, we are fundamentally entangled with every atom of cosmos. The principle Ātman is Brahman, or you are that, from the Chandogya Upanishad receives mathematical and experimental confirmation in the non-locality of the quantum world. History records many names of those who employed these principles, often without naming them, but intuitively following the laws set forth in the Master Key System *. Earl Nightingale, whose voice inspired millions, called it the strangest secret. We become what we think. Napoleon Hill, after 20 years of studying the lives of the planet's wealthiest at the behest of Andrew Carnegie, arrived at the same conclusion. The mind is the sole instrument capable of turning idea into material equivalent. Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla, despite their rivalry, converged on one point. Their greatest inventions arrived in moments of deep concentration, when they tuned their minds to the frequency of the universal field of knowledge. Steve Jobs, deeply versed in Eastern philosophy and Zen Buddhism, understood that intuition and the inner voice are manifestations of that very universal mind that guides a person who dares to listen. Oprah Winfrey, openly acknowledging Haanel's influence, turned her biography from a story of deprivation into one of triumph precisely through the awareness that her inner worth is not defined by external circumstances but reflects a divine origin. The ancient teachings of the Stoics, such as Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, taught that the only thing we truly possess is our inner eye and our power of judgment. In the Yoga Vasisth, one of the deepest Vedantic texts, it is asserted that the world is as we perceive it, and changing perception inevitably changes the world. The Hermetic tradition, with its principle of correspondence, as above so below, as within so without, forms the foundation upon which Haanel erected his system. Yet, upon this path, one must also recognize the dangers inherent in a misinterpretation of such potent principles. One major pitfall is naive positivism, the attempt to plaster an affirmation over a deep, festering wound of unresolved psychological issues. Haanel did not call for denial of reality. He called for its transformation from within. Mere repetition of words without interchange and without readiness for action becomes what psychologists label magical thinking, an infantile belief that thoughts can change the world without the participation of will and labor. Another danger is the denial of objective reality. Some adherents fall into extreme solipsism, believing the external world is merely an illusion to be ignored. This leads to loss of connection with actuality and social alienation. The true power of the Master Key System lies in harmony. We acknowledge the laws of the physical world while using mental laws to steer physical processes. Toxic spirituality is yet another side effect, when the concept "you create your own reality" is used to blame victims of circumstance or to nurture a spiritual ego. If a person begins to believe he is better or chosen because of his knowledge, he instantly severs the bond with the universal mind, whose essence is unity, not division. Haanel emphasized that the individual I is identical to the whole. and thus any pride is merely a sign of weakness and misunderstanding of the true nature of that unity. Finally, there is the risk of turning affirmations into a form of emotional suppression. The attempt always to be positive can lead to the displacement of anger, sadness, or fear into the subconscious, where they act as hidden self-destructive programs. True practice of the fourth lesson demands honesty. We acknowledge our present limitations but choose to identify not with them but with the potential that lies beyond. To avoid these traps and translate theory into tangible results, we move to the practical part of the fourth lesson. This 30-day transformation protocol demands the discipline Haanel deemed essential for success. Remember, beginning something and not bringing it to an end forms a habit of defeat. Our goal is to forge a habit of victory. Technique 1. Entry into the silence. This is fundamental. Each day, beginning with day 1, allocate 15 to 20 minutes to complete physical and mental inactivity. Sit in a quiet place, straighten the spine, relax all muscles. Your task is not to fight thoughts but to become their observer. Imagine your thoughts as clouds drifting across the sky of your consciousness. You are not the clouds, you are the sky. Time, 15 to 20 minutes in the morning, immediately after waking. Effect. By the 4th-5th day, you will notice a reduction in overall anxiety and an increase in concentration. Technique 2. The main affirmation. Haanel insists on the phrase, "I can be what I wish to be." You must repeat it not mechanically but with deep feeling of participation. Speak it aloud before a mirror in the morning and whisper or say it silently during the day. Capture the sense that it is already true. Quantity. No fewer than 100 repetitions per day divided into several cycles. Effect. By the 10th day, you will catch yourself thinking that automatic reactions to difficulties shift from "I cannot do this" to "How can I solve this?" Technique 3. Mental rehearsal. Starting on day 7, add visualization to the silence. Picture yourself in a situation that normally provokes difficulty or fear. Now act in it as a person who has realized his connection with the universal mind, calm, wise, effective. See details, colors, sounds, bodily sensations. Time, 10 minutes after the primary meditation. Effect. By day 15, you will discover that in real situations, your body and mind automatically reproduce the rehearsed calm. Technique 4. Success and completion journal. To defeat the habit of defeat warned by Haanel, keep a notebook. Each evening, record 5 tasks you completed that day. They may be small: a made-up bed, a finished report, a timely phone call. The key is to log the act of completion. Time, 5 minutes before sleep. Effect. After 2 weeks, your subconscious will begin to view you as a person who always brings matters to a finish, which is critical for achieving larger goals. Technique 5. Gratitude practice as frequency tuning. Gratitude acknowledges that the universal mind has already provided everything you need. During the day, whenever irritation or fatigue arises, find 3 things you are sincerely grateful for at that moment. This shifts your brain from a deficit mode to an abundance mode. Time, instantly as needed, at least 3 times daily. Effect. On the 7th-8th day, you will notice external circumstances arranging themselves more favorably, a result of altered electromagnetic radiation that the environment responds to. Technique 6. Focus shift or observer. Throughout the day, practice conscious interruption of automatic thoughts. As soon as you catch a negative inner monologue, say stop and replace it with an affirmation of your strength. This is a practical application of Albert Bandura's theory of self-efficacy. Time, throughout the day. Effect. By day 20, you will feel you have become master of your mental space rather than its captive. Technique 7. Power pose. Using Amy Cuddy's research, twice daily assume a power pose. Stand straight, hands on hips or raised, chin slightly lifted. Hold for 2 minutes while reciting the main affirmation. Time, 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening. Effect. Immediate hormonal response. Cortisol drops, testosterone rises, giving a physical sense of confidence needed to cement mental settings. This 30-day cycle is not merely an exercise. It is a process of rebirth. You literally sculpt a new I from the clay of old habits and limitations. Haanel emphasized that knowledge brings no benefit until applied. Power comes not from reading but from practice in the silence where thought becomes action. In concluding the fourth lesson, we can state its essence in a single sentence. Your individual consciousness is not an isolated island but a focal point of the infinite energy of the universe, and awareness of this unity grants you the right and power to be whatever you decide to become. This is not a privilege of the chosen few. It is a natural law available to anyone willing to subordinate will to discipline and turn the gaze inward. We finish our investigation of the nature of the I, but this